their structure, purpose, and accessibility. Are we financing to empower or to extract? Are we building systems that include pastoralists in Marsabit, women fish traders along Lake Victoria, and youth-led agri-tech startups in Kigali? Are our financial instruments designed to absorb risk, build resilience, and create value, particularly for those at the margins? This is the shift we are called to make, from transactional to transformational financing, one that does not just react to crisis, but anticipates opportunity. Financing that unlocks land, labor, and local knowledge, not in silos, but as part of a coherent strategy for sustainable, inclusive agricultural transformation. Kenya's agricultural sector, like much of Africa's, is fundamentally built on the backbone of smallholder producers. These small-scale farmers who cultivate plots, often less than 2 hectares, are responsible for over 75% of the country's agricultural output and the majority of our domestic food supply. Yet, despite their crucial role, they operate within highly fragmented and underdeveloped value chains. Most of these farmers are disconnected from organized markets, rely on informal seed and input systems, and face barriers in accessing information, technology, and extension services. The cost of agricultural inputs, such as certified seed, fertilizer, and mechanized services, remains prohibitively high for the average smallholder. For instance, many maize farmers in counties like Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Trans Nzoia, or Bungoma spend up to 40% of their income without a guarantee of fair prices at harvest. Access to credit is even more challenging. Only a small fraction of smallholders in Kenya have access to formal agricultural financing, with the majority relying on informal lenders or self-financing through savings, which limits their ability to scale or improve productivity. These challenges are further compounded by the growing threat of climate change. Farmers now face rainfall, prolonged droughts, and frequent pest outbreaks, such as the fall armyworm, which have significantly affected staple crop yields in arid and semi-arid areas like Turkana and Garissa. Pastoralists grapple with degraded rangelands and diminishing water resources, threatening both livelihoods and food security. Moreover, Kenya's post-harvest infrastructure remains insufficient. Nearly 30 to 40% is lost after harvest due to lack of cold storage, inefficient transport, and poor market linkages. This not only leads to economic losses for farmers, but also undermines national food security and nutritional goals. Farmers in horticultural zones such as Meru or Kirinyaga often produce high-quality fruits and vegetables, yet much of this produce fails to reach urban markets in Nairobi or Mombasa in time, or meets rejection due to poor handling or lack of certification. Market access, particularly for rural producers, remains volatile and uncertain. Prices fluctuate widely, and producers often have little bargaining power or knowledge of market trends. Aggregation centers, contract farming arrangements, and digital platforms are still limited in reach and reliability. While there are promising examples, such as digital platforms linking dairy farmers to processors in Nyandarua, or avocado exporters working with cooperatives in Murang'a, these remain isolated successes and not the norm. Unless we address these systemic bottlenecks, smallholder producers will remain trapped in low productivity cycles, unable to contribute meaningfully to Kenya's ambition of a resilient, food secure, and export-oriented agricultural economy. But there is hope and action. Consider the case of farmers in Laikipia County, where climate-resilient fodder production, supported by county-level guarantee funds, has transformed local dairy cooperatives. Farmers not only boost milk yields, but income to invest in solar chillers and expand access to rural milk markets. Or in Busia, where cross-border trade financing, co-designed with fintech innovators, has enabled bean producers to tap into regional markets through structured forward contracts, mitigating price shocks and improving cash flow. Such models reveal that when financing is designed with local context in mind, outcomes improve, embedded in the national development agenda. Under the Better Transformation Agenda, we are not simply treating agriculture as a sector, but as a platform for shared prosperity. We are de-risking rural finance through credit guarantee schemes to reach remote farmers and co-investing in value addition hubs across maize, dairy, horticulture, and fisheries. Importantly, we are creating tailored financing instruments for women-led cooperatives and youth-driven agri-enterprises. However, national action must be reinforced by regional and continental collaboration. Africa cannot scale agri-financing in silos. The African Continental Free Trade Area is a strategic lever we must activate more deliberately. It provides a framework to harmonize standards, facilitate cross-border finance, and unlock regional agricultural corridors. Imagine a future where a farmer in Siaya can access input loans from a Ugandan lender backed by regional risk-sharing facility, or where a Rwandan processor sources raw material from Kenya through an end-to-end digital exchange supported by interoperable payment systems and real-time logistics networks. This future is within reach, but it demands political will, infrastructure investment, and smart regulatory harmonization. We must also be clear-eyed about the need for innovative financing instruments that go beyond traditional lending. Blended finance, where philanthropic or public funds de-risk private investment, is gaining traction, and rightly so. But we must also explore green bonds for climate-smart agriculture, diaspora bonds for rural infrastructure, Islamic finance for faith-aligned investments, and blockchain-enabled traceability to improve creditworthiness. In Kenya, we are exploring a national agri-investment platform, bringing together public agencies, banks, cooperatives, and agripreneurs into a shared ecosystem of data, services, and capital. This platform will serve as a one-stop shop for financing needs linking farmers not just to credit, but also to insurance, savings, and investment opportunities powered by technology and anchored in policy. Africa does not lack ideas. It needs coordination, courage, and capital. Coordination among ministries, development partners, and private sector actors to align resources with national and regional priorities. courage to test and scale unorthodox models that prioritize people over paperwork.
That is Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi there speaking at the Financing Agri-Food Systems Summit 2025 happening at KICC. Today is the last day of that particular summit. And of course, the President talking about the importance of ensuring that financing is reaches the smallholder farmer. He says that a lot of the financing that is there in the agriculture sector is limited to the big boys, so to say. So he says that smallholder farmers should be the focus of financing. He's also talked about the importance of large-scale farmers, or also, advancing in the value chain, exporting, value addition. Those are some of the things. Takes a quick break. When we come back, we continue on the conversation about the budget 2025-2026. Do stay with us.
Je, umewahi kuwa na deni ya KRA? Basi usiwe na shaka. KRA wakishirikiana na KBC wamekuandalia roadshow murwa kabisa. Jiunge nasi jinsi utakavyoweza. Tutakuwa tunakusaidia kujaza fomu za kodi za mwaka 2020 za KRA kwa mtaa wako. Ijumaa tarehe 23 mwezi Mei tutakuwa maeneo ya Eldoret, tutazuru Cheptiret, Langas, 64 Stadium, Chepkoilel Junction, Moi's Bridge na tutamatishe Eldoret Town. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujite.
From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. You are watching BizCheck here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum, and Lucy Moura is my colleague on the sign language interpretation this second hour. We now want to continue with our conversation on budget 2025-2026, specifically the Finance Bill 2025. And I have with me Farhia Jama, who is a tax advocate. Thank you for staying with me.
Thank you.
Before we went to another story, you were talking to us about how our leadership choices have led us here. Please go ahead.
So basically, you will find that the budget process, Kenya has beautiful, policies, documents, and all that. And I was telling you, execution is the only challenge we have. The implementation in this country is so weak. So you come to realize that the good thing is this finance bill. Let's talk about the good thing about this finance bill. What they have tried to do is this time they changed strategy. They moved away from just increasing taxes to broadening the tax base. And what that means is that instead of now saying that this person or this type of tax will have an increase, what they did is the current existing tax. How can we ensure that more people are able to pay that, which is good for our country. Broadening a tax base is good because at least now you're focusing on ensuring that every person is able to pay taxes and we have good revenue. But also this finance bill focused also on combating tax evasion. So I like the fact that at least they even thought about reducing the tax leakage and ensured now they fired some of their officials who were corrupt, and 400 officials, I mean, how much more, how many billions have been lost over those years. So they are trying to combat tax evasion, but then again, how long and how sustainable will this be? It's a good move, it's a good strategy, but you can't send a thief to catch a thief. So if there were officials who were stealing from the Kenyans, and all this time it has not been highlighted upon, then now we need to see why are these individuals going, who is this individual who will go and catch the other thief. So they need to have at least an independent team, an independent team that does an oversight. So that they say, okay, this money came in, this money was going out, so that we do not have leakage in terms of revenue. So if now the people who are ensuring that there's no tax leakage are the same institution, you cannot verify yourself, or you cannot assess yourself. So there has to be an independent team, maybe a council or something, yeah? But that council now looks at things from an independent point of view. So we said fix the governance structure, ensure that we enhance the revenue collection without overtaxing the taxpayer. And then now look for a way in which our debt makes sense to citizens. So can we find a way to link debt to a return of investment? When you're doing an investment, a normal investment, you're told that this property will give you a return of this kind of investment. So if you put 5 million, you will get, in 2 years, you'll get this return of investment. Can we now have a target like that in linking the debt that our country takes in, that we will have a return of that investment in 2 years or 3 years, and we see what kind of return of investment? That will make each and every government accountable for every debt they take, and then reintroduce the cap that used to be there. Because when they when they try to extend the goalpost, they're just giving themselves more power to keep on borrowing without being questioned. Because once they're out of government,
right,
who will follow up after that? So when you link something, or the borrowing that our country is going through a return of investment, it means every leader will be accountable, because they have to show, before we borrow this money,
right,
they need to explain to the citizen that structure.
We shall talk about that in just a little bit, delving more into the debt sustainability of this country. But now I want to take you to KEBS headquarters, Kenya Bureau of Standards, where a workshop on food hygiene and safety code of practice was happening. Managing Director KEBS speaking. Let's just listen into that.
A crucial time, especially as we prepare to observe the World Food Safety Day on 7th of June 2025, current statistics reveal a staggering reality. Approximately 600 million people worldwide suffer illnesses each year due to contaminated food, and nearly 420 million of them face life-threatening consequences. These figures are not just statistics. They represent real lives impacted, highlighting the urgent need for action to ensure food safety. The food chain, as we understand it, spans from farm to fork, and it involves a multitude of stakeholders throughout the value chain. It is imperative to recognize that every participant, from primary producers, who are farmers, to consolidators and transporters, to distributors, manufacturers, and the consumers, play a vital role in safeguarding food safety. That's why we say that food safety is everyone's business. Together, we can significantly reduce the disease burden arising from food safety hazards. And in this regard, Kenya Bureau of Standards deeply appreciates the role of suppliers to the supermarkets as essential partners in the commitment to delivering safety. let us work together to ensure that the food we provide not only meets established standards, but also protects the health and well-being of our communities. Now, food standards or food safety in standards, recognizing in the 2025 World Food Safety Theme, Science in Action, this workshop serves as a powerful reminder of the crucial role that science plays in tackling the pressing food safety challenges facing humanity. As we confront an ever-growing population and the impacts of climate change, innovative solutions are more essential than ever. The training program meticulously outlines key standards and practices vital for preventing safety issues and minimizing waste. By prioritizing food safety, suppliers can not only enhance their operational efficiency, but also unlock new avenues for profitability. A thorough understanding of the HACCP system, which Miriam has clearly explained what it is all about, paired with stringent hygienic handling methods, will empower you with the expertise needed to ensure that your products consistently meet the highest level of quality and safety standards. This commitment will help reduce or entirely eliminate product returns, a win for both your business and for your consumers. Furthermore, we anticipate a significant boost in consumer confidence within Carrefour as they encounter safe, high-quality products. This creates a remarkable win-win outcome for everyone involved in the food value chain. Consider the harsh reality of food loss globally. Approximately 40% of food produced goes to waste due to inadequate post-harvest handling. Yet, this alarming trend can be reversed through the diligent application of established standards. In Kenya, an astonishing Kenya shilling 72 billion, that's a lot, worth of food is lost every year due to improper handling and storage. So by adopting the standards we present you today, you have the opportunity to transform a significant portion of this loss into tangible profits. I believe nobody produces food for it to go to loss. True? Yeah. This understanding drives the government's commitment through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, now integrated into the medium-term plan for 2023-2027. This initiative focuses on developing modern markets and industrial parks across the country, fostering...
That is Esther Ngari, who is the Managing Director at the Kenya Bureau of Standards, speaking on food hygiene and food safety. And of course, she's calling on retailers as well as suppliers at the retail stations to ensure that they observe the highest standard in terms of food handling to ensure that food is not lost because of improper handling or storage. Our very own Benson Rioba will be giving us details on that report a little bit later. We come back to studio and continue our conversation on budget matters. And I'm with Farhia Jama, who is a tax advocate. Farhia, before we went to matters standards, we were talking about debt sustainability in this country.
Yes.
We know that there's external debt, and we have seen, is it the Nairobi-Mombasa Expressway that is coming up? It's supposed to be a private, an entirely private, it's like a PPP, a public-private partnership, but Kenya is not putting in any money. Is this the direction to take? Because most of our debt that we have accrued in the past decades is because of our infrastructure projects. Is this the direction to take?
Yeah, I think that the part of debt sustainability is what I was just talking about. Like at least ensuring that you link your debt to a return of investment. So if you give a return of investment to the private investors and private institutions that are willing to work with government, and you show them there's a return of investment, you'll find out that we actually don't need an external debt. Yeah, local people can now contribute. And now that is a high infrastructure. A high infrastructure means there's good returns, and also it will be contributing to the social growth and development. What we were talking about earlier on was, as a country, are we investing in the development? Is our priority really based on development or recurring expenditure? If we have this kind of public-private partnership, it means the government is creating an enabling environment for people who are local investors to ensure that they can take part of these projects. And you see, if it is a private individual or private company doing this, then you see we find we are not, indebted to an external debt that is increasing in interests that we do not know how long it will be. But this one is a private partnership. So the government is partnering with private individuals and ensuring that the locals can now contribute. This is the same way you normally have the treasury bonds. Yeah, it's people who have money in Kenya. So you're overlooking the people who have the money here, yeah, and you did not give them an opportunity to give you their money. But how transparent can it be? So if we can ensure public-private partnerships are going to be transparent, accountable, and ensuring that we are developing as a country, then I think we will be able to grow the country from our own money without relying on people who we don't know what interest that they have in our country. Yeah.
I think one of the issues that angers a lot of Kenyans is the corruption bit of it.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of money that is lost to corruption in this country, which would have transformed lives and, transformed the economy, so to say.
Yeah.
We know that Kenyans have been asking for details on some of the deals that have been made in the past, running into billions and billions of shillings, and none of that is brought to fore. We have seen some government officials actually querying the report of the Controller of Budget, and the Auditor General's report. And so how are we supposed to tackle corruption? I mean, is this something we just have to live with? We accept that it's part of us and we continue living with it?
No. So what we're actually lacking right now is called public financial management. If right now, also one of the things that people are not aware about the finance bill, it has created a digitized way in which the government can now introduce digital platforms where we can be tracking this finances, how they're going and all that. So one of the examples is e-teams, yeah? What is the government trying to achieve introducing e-teams? It's trying to ensure that each and every business, as much as you are creating invoices, we have a legit system and process in which we are able to track on what kind of invoices you're raising. So if a client or a taxpayer says that I didn't spend on this, and they generated an invoice on e-teams, then later on when they are filing for their corporate tax returns, they can show these are the expenses I spent on. Before, it was a challenge in which you needed to prove as a taxpayer to KRA that yes, I'm running a business, but I've not been making profits for the last 2 years because these are actually the expenses of the company. So right now, when you generate these invoices on e-teams and all these receipts are being generated through e-teams, then we are able to do a digital tracking of all the expenses and all that. But the government is trying to also ensure that there's no leakage. So also, the government introduced something called IFMIS. When IFMIS was introduced, it was a digital platform to ensure any person who gets any tender in the government, we can track. This is the funding, this is the money that they got in this tender, this is the amount that was paid, this is what was remaining. So what is happening in that process? There is a proper tracking mechanism in the tender process, because a lot of money used to get lost in you have to pay who, you have to pay who for you to get a certain tender. But you see, now you are being told you can enroll into this platform, seek for whichever tender, do the job, then get paid, and then it can be tracked and it can be seen. So that is part of public financial management. The only thing that right now we are lacking, yes, as a country we are heading somewhere, because now at least they've started introducing digital systems to track the money. But now we need an independent review and ensure that there's transparency and accountability, where all this information that the Auditor General is issuing can be debated on. Because, I mean, that's our money. It's public money. So let's have a forum and ensure that the Auditor General can explain this. And those people, the same way parliamentarians and MPs and all that, are put on a stand to explain, how did you use the money? But then again, there's nothing that is being done after. So I just saw a video the other day, Isiolo governor being asked, like he spent maybe 72 million just because of feelings, like how he felt like spending. And they were laughing, but that's not something
it's not
it's not a laughing matter.
Yeah.
So a governor could wake up today and feels like, I need to spend all this money, and wake up and just spend. You see, there's no proper accountability measures. What happens to individuals who are found now doing or misusing public funds? That's where we're lacking. If we get that kind of execution and implementation, there's good policies, but there's no execution.
Right.
So if today you are told if you steal, nothing will happen to you, you'll continue stealing. So that's what is, there's so much privilege for the government officials. They can steal without no one following up on them.
Yeah, I think consequences are really very important because
yeah.
in other jurisdictions it's as serious as, you know, dying.
Yes,
it's death.
Death, yes,
Yeah.
completely. Because why are you, this is public funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I think what people don't realize is you're stealing 5 million shillings.
Yeah.
For yourself and your family. This money could have gone into a dispensary somewhere, saved lives. You know, it's,
the hospitals,
there's a ripple effect to your corruption.
Yes.
Yeah. So consequences are very important. EACC has been in office for the longest time.
Yeah.
We know that one of the high-profile cases, former Kiambu governor is now in jail because of the corruption case that was tried, and he was found guilty. Is this going, such occurrences, are they giving confidence or putting confidence in Kenyans in terms of this government and the institutions that are charged with this job dealing with corruption?
The question you need to ask is, how many government officials have been arrested? And how many have served their sentence without someone removing them from prison again? Because if it was me and you, as a common mwananchi, you did such a grave mistake, trust me, you'll be in the prisons for the next 10 or 5 years. Yeah? But why are the government officials who have done worse crime, the way you've said, just you're thinking that you've just stolen 5 billion, 1 million, 1 billion. But this is how many lives you've lost, the education sector you killed, the people who needed to get these funds correctly. You have like bursaries, the pensions for old people. Yeah? So these were not your funds. But today, those people, they've stolen that money, but they don't even know how to use that amount of money. So you find them, they're always struggling. But then again, how many have been arrested and served their time in prison? If we can show that and it can work, then now people will stop stealing. Corruption is not going to end anytime soon until there's a consequence and an impact to these officials. They discuss, they laugh about it. They're like, oh, liba hiyo pesa, okay, fine. Then it becomes a joke, and then citizens look like when Gen Zs were just asking for only few things. Be accountable. Show us how you're using our money. Yeah? Do these things. It looks like a joke. But they just, the next generation are not going to tolerate it.
Yeah.
They're going to be firm about it. So the older generation are fumbling with it because it's like your child calling you out. Mom, you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
But they don't want to
But they don't
hear
want
it,
to
of
listen.
course. Right.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about devolution. We'll of course touch on the fact that a lot of Kenyans think devolution is just devolved corruption.
Yeah.
Governors have been asking for increased allocations, you know, and they've been complaining around the clock, oh, we don't have money, oh, that's why the doctors have not been paid, and that's why development is not happening. But there are some model counties that something is actually happening. What are your thoughts on devolution?
I want you to just, let's not criminalize all counties.
Right.
So some of the counties that have been really performing, you can just go and analyze. Some of them that have been performing well are like the Mombasa County government and Kwale County government. Kwale County government, before even this new regime, their financial standing was that they had no debt at all. Like literally a whole county did not have debts based on the county had already paid out most of its people who are working for them. And maybe they have a few debts here, financially sustainable. If you look at reports, you'll find some counties, depending on the governor or the leader who's there, they created some county policies, county financial mechanism, and they ensured that the finances that they were able to get, they were able to manage it well. So basically devolved governments were there to help each and every county get an access to basically resources. Years ago, some counties, like just example Northeastern, never used to get any allocation at all. Then you used to wonder, why is this county always in the newspapers for famine, for drought, for all that? But at that time, devolved government started being implemented. Allocations started going to these counties. But can we say that these regions or these counties have used their money well? No. So then now you can find that there are some counties that are working. Some counties are not working. But I've told you, this county better, who uses and utilizes their funds better, who's more accountable to their people, who hires in a very transparent and, basically ensure that there's no corrupt aspect. So we can introduce that kind of model. But then again, you find that the county governments have been a big expenditure, a recurring expenditure. But then again, we don't see where the money is being used for. So how we can reduce corruption is make the counties compete. Yeah? Compete on who develops the county better. Because now, governors will be put to shame if you do not develop. Like I know some counties, I won't mention names because I know someone will come for me here, but those counties have never developed since whoever took office. There's no road, there's nothing, there's literally nothing in those counties. So if we put this county, the governors now, the way we have a public forum for this finance bill and all that, so public participation, the governors are put to front. The same way agencies called out some of their governors.
Right. You've mentioned the issue of public participation. We know that last year there was a lot of public participation, and we know the events that took place, and it led to the fall of the finance bill. Some lives were lost, unfortunately. What is the role of Kenyans, common mwananchi, in this process, in ensuring that voices are heard? Our priority areas as a village, as a county, as a sub-county, are heard and actually included in how budgeting is done?
So already the constitution and the laws of this country have emphasized and ensured that you've been catered for. Public participation of that bill or act in future will not be in the correct manner because public participation was not part of it. Years ago, public participation was a storyline. People never used to think that they need to participate, or they were more ignorant. They had no information of how to, participate in this. But you can see last year, that is the kind of generations that are coming up that are now more informed. Remember, the internet is on their fingertips. They have access to information. Someone just needs to post and people will be educated. So you cannot stop education and information. Once people are more aware, more informed, then accountability is so easy because people will not be entertaining anything and everything that just comes their way. So public participation is becoming a reality, and that's why the leaders today are afraid. Why are they afraid? Because the citizens that they are leading are now not stupid. They are more informed, more educated, and they will call you out. And more so, they are more, young and energetic. if they will be, these are the next generation, then public participation will be an easy job. It's just that the government needs to now make it a formal, structured process. So allow people to give you feedback. Do not shy away and run away from hiding information, because eventually that information will get into their hands, because you cannot run away. The finance bill right now is still there. Whether you hide it or whether you do not mention about it or do not say where public participation is happening, people are still going to show up and they will be watching. Yeah. So it's good now to be more accountable. Create a forum. Just ensure everyone, whichever age bracket and professions, can now be in groups and just discuss this thing and give you proper feedback, so that you're just not passing any bill just because you feel like.
Right, and of course, the people are the ones who put the leaders in their own in offices, so they are working for the people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But now the thing is, if you are not engaging the same people who voted for you, they will call you out, and probably that's why you're seeing many people are now preparing for 2027. Why is it a conversation right now? Because people are just tired. They're like, this time we need to do it right. If you cannot listen to us, we will make you listen to us. And we just don't want to be in that kind of situation, because they will do anything and everything for them to be heard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's important that the people are heard and the leaders actually listen.
Listen, yes.
Right. So as we come to a close of the conversation, Farhia, we are looking at 4.2 trillion shillings budget for this year. KRA targets have been increased. Tax base is being expanded. What are you looking at in terms of Kenya for the next 1 year from June?
Number one, as a tax lawyer, I feel sorry for the taxpayer, because it means the government is going to be on your neck every morning, every evening, because they have targets, and those targets are being deployed. There's one thing to pay taxes, and there's another thing to be harassed to get the taxes. So what I envision and I hope is, and I hope it's a message to the KRA official, do not kill the cash cow. Do not harass the cash cow. Make sure KRA is offering a service. If you're offering a service, you will be offering value to the people, the taxpayers, and the taxpayers will be more than willing to just come and pay taxes. But make sure now, as a government, we are aware where you're spending our money. So right now there's so many taxpayers who are so scared, and why are they scared is because you find even the cases we have handled, some of the taxpayers had to pay taxes on things that are not actually taxable. Or some had to be harassed and pushed, because you see, imagine every KRA official has a target. They will do anything to get you as a taxpayer. They will even, fake numbers, do everything, yeah? So are we putting targets and putting pressure on KRA officials to go and just hunt? Basically it's just they're doing hunting. Will the hunting be on a transparent basis or witch hunting? That's the only fear I have for taxpayers, because anyone and everyone is going to be in problem. They'll come for anyone and everyone, and because they want to meet the target for 4.2 trillion, so they don't care if you're making money, if you're doing business. They will now just create, and it will bring a lot of oppression around that. So we just need to be careful, and KRA needs to also be careful. But you see, the government has put a target on them. What can they do? They're just implementers. They're just revenue collectors. They can't do much because the government needs to raise this money, and they'll do anything to raise it.
Wow, the catch-22 situation continues, yeah? Well, thank you very much, Farhia, for sharing your thoughts with us. Of course, we shall be following up on the budget process up until the day it's read. Asante sana. That is Farhia Jama. She is a tax advocate and has been sharing her thoughts on the upcoming budget of 2025-2026. Of course, the finance bill is out and it has quite some hitting consequences, especially considering that the government is looking to broaden the tax base. But of course, it's important that if you are earning an income, you pay your taxes. Tax evasion or ignorance is not. Joining us, watching, sharing your thoughts on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 at Betty Kiptum and all the other social media platforms. We do appreciate you. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up with Khalid Abdullahi, who is already on set. Bye-bye.